Hello and welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Raisha Saigal. On the show today, on the 6th-month anniversary of Ukraine's Kursk incursion, Kyiv launched another offensive in the region, only to be repelled by the Russian forces. The question being, has Ukraine learned nothing from previous counter-offensives? Also on Gravitas, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi heads to the US next week. All eyes are on a special gesture that he is expected to make, and that is, what gift will the Indian Prime Minister take for Trump? A golden gift from India that may reflect opulence and diplomacy. Let's also tell you what else is lined up for you on the show today. Pakistan has opened their first donkey slaughterhouse in Gwadar. What's more, a Chinese company will be responsible for its operation. All that and a lot more lined up on the show. Our top focus on Gravitas. Ukraine, it seems, has not learnt its lessons. It appears to have repeated a strategic mistake. On the 6th-month anniversary of its first attack inside Russia's Kursk region, Kyiv launched a new offensive on Thursday. It was a surprise assault involving several waves of attacks, but it was doomed from the start. Russian forces quickly repelled the incursion, maintaining control of their settlements. Dramatic videos showed Russian drones blowing up Ukrainian vehicles to smithereens. In total, Russia claims to have fought back 8 rounds of Ukrainian attacks, reportedly costing Kyiv over 200 soldiers and the loss of various tanks and vehicles. Safe to say, it was a failed mission, making us wonder, has Ukraine learned nothing from previous counter-offensives? It looks like the Ukrainian attack was focused on Russian positions to the southeast of the town of Zudza. The assault involved up to 2 mechanized battalions with dozens of armored vehicles. The main thrust centered around the villages of Ulanok, Cherkaskia and Unokolpeka, which is about 9 kilometers southeast of Zudza. Russian forces acknowledged the advances but claimed that Ukraine failed to seize any settlements. At least 6 tanks, 3 infantry fighting vehicles, 3 assault breaches and 14 other armored vehicles were destroyed. So then, what was Kyiv aiming for with its advance? Sure, while Ukraine's ability to launch major attacks poses a challenge for Russia, it is undeniable that Ukraine's foothold in Kursk has shrunk majorly. Moscow has regained major ground, yet Kyiv continues to push deeper into Russian territory. The question being, what is Ukraine still hoping to gain from Kursk? Well, last time, Ukraine put all of its energy into capturing Russian region. It left its eastern front line completely open to Russian attacks and assaults. As a result, Russian troops were able to dismantle Ukraine's front line. Russian troops made major advances in East Ukraine, seizing nearly 3,000 square kilometers of Ukrainian territory. There was a possibility that the Ukrainian Eastern Front might actually collapse if Russia continued to advance at this pace. It showed just how stretched Ukraine's defensive line has become. Ukraine's forces have been putting up a defense to the best of its ability, but the front line creeps ever closer. And for Ukraine, the losses have so far outweighed their wins. So then, why does Ukraine keep pushing for Kursk? Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has openly stated that control of Kursk provides a useful bargaining chip in potential peace talks with Russia. But as the war approaches its third anniversary on 24th of February, Moscow controls roughly a fifth of Ukraine's region. Russia has claimed that since the beginning of the offensive, Ukraine has sustained extremely heavy casualties. And that's up to 58,000 Ukrainian servicemen have been killed or wounded, with over 330 tanks, more than 240 infantry fighting vehicles, and nearly 200 armored personnel carriers destroyed. And after the new counterattack, the Ukrainian military has made no official statement about its invasion into Kursk. But unofficial Ukrainian military blog said that Kyiv's military made some limited gains in tactical positions. Zelensky also acknowledged the 6-month anniversary of the incursion, but he made no mention of a counteroffensive. And speaking in his nightly video address, Zelensky said, and I quote him here, "The Kursk incursion brought the war home for Russians so that they might feel just what war is, and they're feeling it. But are the Russians truly feeling the heat?" Look at this map on your screens now of the war. The yellow portion shows Russian-controlled Ukrainian territory, and the tiny red dot indicates Ukrainian-controlled Russian territory. The writing is on the wall. Why Ukraine's war is in a bad place, but Zelensky has demanded for nuclear weapons from the West. On Tuesday, during an interview with British TV anchor Piers Morgan, Zelensky said that if procedure of Ukraine's NATO accession takes years, Kyiv should be given nuclear weapons. On Thursday, US President Donald Trump's envoy to Ukraine and Russia, Keith Kellogg, brushed aside Kyiv's demand, stating that it is not going to happen. Meanwhile, as Ukraine clings to Kursk and pleads for nuclear weapons, Russia continues its offensive. On Friday, Russian forces seized the village of Druzhba in eastern Donetsk. Moscow's forces are advancing rapidly across various areas using their overwhelming numbers to attack. They are gradually trapping Ukraine forces in a pincer movement, forcing retreats to avoid encirclement. And so the question remains, what is the point of Ukraine's Kursk offensive? Why does Ukraine continue to repeat strategic mistakes? Cripple Russia's economy, isolate Moscow, starve its war machine. That was the West plan when it unleashed an unprecedented war of sanctions after the Ukraine invasion. But is that working? The latest numbers tell a different tale, however. Russia reported strong economic growth for 2024.
Rostat has just presented their first estimate, according to which the Russian gross domestic product grew by 4.1%. That is 0.2% higher than what was in the official forecast.
US, European Union, UK, Japan, Canada and Australia have imposed over 19,500 restrictions on Russia. And today, it is world's most sanctioned nation. The sanctions targeted every sector, freezing billions in assets and blocking important exports. While the West had hoped sanctions would collapse Russia's economy and thwart Moscow's ability to fund its military offensive in Ukraine. But Russia's economy is now more than 6% larger than it was before the offensive. Moscow's war-driven spending spree on weapons and personnel has injected massive capital into the economy, fueling a military-industrial boom. Defense is operating at full tilt as well, churning out ammunition, tanks and drones at record speed. While inflation and labor shortages are mounting concerns, the Kremlin has kept the economy afloat with aggressive state intervention.
The task for the current year is to reach a balanced growth trajectory, to achieve a reduction in inflation. You also mentioned this now. We had 9.5% for last year, and I think as of February 3rd it was already 9.9% per year. And this is a challenge for us. We must do everything necessary to ensure that our growth is balanced.
Rising oil revenues, despite Western price caps, continue to fund government spending. Meanwhile, Russia has pivoted to Asia, expanding trade with China, India and West Asia to bypass the Western sanctions. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is heading to the US next week, and there's one pressing question. What golden gift will he take for the US President Donald Trump? Because if there's one thing the world knows about Trump, it is that he adores gold, be it gold-colored curtains, bathroom fixtures, gold-coated glass, or even his favorite James Bond character. Any guesses? Goldfinger. If it is not gold, Trump is not interested. He is not keen. And the world leaders have taken note. Back in 2016, that's just days after Trump's election victory, Japan's then Prime Minister Shinzo Abe went to Trump Tower with a set of golden golf clubs in hand. The world found the gesture to be over the top. But guess what? It worked. Trump showered Abe with praise. Trump's threats to slap tariffs on Japanese goods became a matter of history. And he even went on to call Abe the greatest prime minister in the history of Japan. Now, that's what you call strategic gifting. Then, there's Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who took the golden obsession up a notch. We'll tell you why. Gifting Trump this week a golden pager. Yes, a golden pager is what Bibi gifted Trump. An apparent reference to Israel's attack against Hezbollah last year, during which thousands of handheld pagers belonging to Hezbollah detonated simultaneously across Lebanon. The pager, coated in gold, mounted on wood and accompanied by a plaque. And it had this written on it, let me quote here: "To President Donald J. Trump, our greatest friend and our greatest ally." India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri on Friday said that at the invitation of Trump, Prime Minister Modi will pay an official working visit to the US on the 12th and the 13th of February.
At the invitation of the President of the United States of America, Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi will pay an official working visit to the United States on 12th and 13th of February. This will be the first visit of Prime Minister Modi to the United States since the inauguration of the second presidential term of President Donald Trump.
But what did Prime Minister Modi gift Trump before? Now, during his 2017 visit to the US, Prime Minister Modi gifted Trump a wooden chest, Himachali tea and honey, a silver bracelet, hand-woven Kashmiri and Himachali shawls, and even a postal stamp honoring former US President Abraham Lincoln. So, this time around, will Prime Minister Modi go for gold? And if so, what he may pick? Do you have any guesses? Could he pick a solid gold MAGA hat? Well, we know that Trump loves his campaign merchandise. Imagine him walking around with a custom 24-carat Make America Great Again cap. Let's not forget Trump's love for golf. If he already has golden golf clubs, so why not a set of gold-plated golf balls? Think about it for a moment. Every time Trump lines up for a swing, he will remember the Indian Prime Minister. Or could Prime Minister Modi stick to something culturally significant, something that symbolizes India's heritage? At the end of the day, whether Prime Minister Modi chooses gold or culture, one thing is certain. In Trump's world, it is not just gold that shines, it is also political strategy. Well, shifting our focus to Pakistan now, where in the bustling port city of Gwadar, a big shift is underway. For the first time in the history of Pakistan, a donkey slaughterhouse has begun its operations in Gwadar. The slaughterhouse has begun its operations, like I mentioned, and that is to meet the surge in demand for donkey meat, bones and hides in China. This demand largely stems from the production of jiao, which is a conventional Chinese remedy. It is valued for its reported health benefits in China. And so, during a recent meeting of the National Assembly Standing Committee on Food Security, the announcement was made. Pakistan and China have entered into an agreement for the export of donkey goods, ushering in a new era for this niche export sector. A Chinese company has already set up its operations in Gwadar, being described as a big development in the industry. The Pakistan government officials say that logistical challenges make the export of the buy goods more feasible than the live animal itself. The committee was also informed of increasing interest from Chinese companies in setting up additional donkey slaughterhouses across Pakistan. The chairman of Pakistan National Assembly's Standing Committee on Food Security, Rana Mahmood, has reportedly highlighted the decline in domestic use of donkeys in Pakistan, and that is due to modernization. He suggested that selective breeding should be promoted to maintain donkey population for economic benefit. Now, just for context, Pakistan's donkey population is approximately 5.9 million. And China is a big market for donkey-derived goods, like jiao, which is used in both food and other kind of medicine, conventional kind of medicine. According to news agency Reuters, the growing demand for jiao in China has contributed to the large-scale slaughter of donkeys worldwide. Jiao is made from collagen in donkey hides. It is popular among China's elites for its supposed health benefits, including improved blood circulation and immune support. Historically speaking, it was favored by the Qing dynasty. Now, due to its portrayal in popular media and because of the rise of China's middle class, jiao is seeing a surge in demand. According to the Donkey Sanctuary, jiao industry requires around 5.9 million donkey skins every year, impacting global donkey populations. Jiao also has a 3,000-year history in Shandong province, which is about 90% of China's supply. And because of its popularity, China's donkey population has fallen more than 80%. That's to just under 2 million. This decline in donkey population in China has promoted its jiao industry to source donkey skins from overseas. In recent years, China has begun looking at countries like Pakistan and Afghanistan to source donkey skin. Reports say that most donkey skins shipped from Pakistan to China, they are a part of an undercover trade. For instance, in 2022 in Karachi, a shipment was seized carrying almost 10 metric tons of donkey skins to Hong Kong. The shipment was initially declared as carrying salt. Now, animal welfare groups and other experts have warned that China's demand for jiao is fueling the slaughter of millions of donkeys every year. It's because, despite individual country bans and moves to regulate the donkey skin trade, donkey trafficking and illegal slaughtering remains. As a result, experts have flagged that they need to stop the import of donkey skins, and they have recommended investing in sustainable options such as lab-grown collagen. Let's also now tell you what else is lined up for you on Gravitas today. As US continues to reel under a series of aviation disasters, a plane carrying 10 people has disappeared mid-flight during a dangerous winter storm. Also on the show, we will tell you about a new research which reveals that our eyes can detect early diseases. And finally on Gravitas, with the bird flu outbreak in the United States of America, how safe is it to consume eggs? Pakistan's external debt and liabilities have reached $133 billion, with 92% of it owed to three key sources, which are multilateral lenders, bilateral creditors, and international bond markets. The multilateral firms include the World Bank, ADB, and IMF. They account for the largest share at 56%. Bilateral creditors include China and the Paris Club, and they hold 28% of Pakistan's external debt. Meanwhile, 14% comes from commercial sources, 8% from international bonds, and 6% from commercial banks. Despite a net increase of 3% year-on-year, the share of external debt in total public debt has declined, and that's from 38% in June 2023 to 34% in June 2024. However, debt exposure remains within the 40% limit under Pakistan's medium-term strategy, though exchange rate fluctuations remain a key risk. Meanwhile, Pakistan's public external debt, excluding private sector debt, stood at $88.7 billion as of September 2024. And during the same year, public external debt increased by $2.5 billion. And total external loan disbursements amounted to $9.8 billion, majorly from multilateral and bilateral sources. Major multilateral disbursements, including $2.2 billion from the World Bank, $1.3 billion from ADB, and $345 million from AIIB. Moving on to the bilateral front now, Saudi Arabia provided $2 billion, while the UAE deposited $1 billion with Pakistan's central bank. Well, Pakistan's Ministry of Finance has finalized the debt policy statement for January 2025, but it is yet to be put forth in Parliament as it awaits federal cabinet approval. Meanwhile, the government missed its deadline to release the debt bulletin report for September 2024, a requirement under the World Bank's loan conditions. However, the report was eventually released in October 2024, while Pakistan's external debt remains within policy limits. A high reliance on concessional and long-term loans from multilateral and bilateral sources provides some stability. However, the overall debt burden, currency risks and repayment obligations, it continues to pose challenges for the country's monetary health. Is the White House not big enough for MAGA? The reason I ask this is because US President Donald Trump has proposed a plan to build a lavish $100 million ballroom at the White House. The inspiration? His Mar-a-Lago estate. Yes, you heard that right. On Wednesday, during a signing ceremony in the East Room, Trump expressed his desire to construct what he described as a beautiful, beautiful ballroom for $100 million. He wants to build one like the ballroom at Mar-a-Lago, which is his Florida mansion. That venue is 20,000 square feet. Trump's proposed ballroom would serve as a venue for high-profile events, including parties as well as official state dinners. But the question now is, who is going to pay for it? Will the money come from American taxpayers? Well, Trump says no. He has promised to cover the entire cost of construction of this grand ballroom by himself. Trump, referring to the East Room, said that there were people outside that cannot even get in, calling it a packed space. He said that he had earlier offered to construct the ballroom during Joe Biden's tenure, but was met with rejection. He said, and I'm quoting him here, "It was going to cost $100 million. I offered to do it to the Biden administration," unquote. Now, you must be wondering just how small is the East Room in the White House? Well, actually, it's not. At just under 3,000 square feet, the East Room is the biggest of the state rooms and the only one that runs the entire width of the executive mansion. According to the White House Historical Association, it was designed by James Hoban and first U.S. President George Washington to be a public audience room. It's where dances, concerts, and press conferences are held. But Biden was not the first president that Trump approached with his idea. In 2016, Trump had reportedly offered to spend $100 million on a new White House ballroom. That's when Barack Obama was the president. But that offer was also rejected. Then, during his first run for office in 2016, Trump derided White House events for foreign dignitaries held in tents. He had called it an inappropriate way to entertain them. But tented state dinners have been held outdoors on the White House grounds for decades. Now that he's back at the White House, Trump told the crowd on Wednesday that it might take more than a wish to fulfill Trump's vision. You see, Congress is tasked with appropriating funds for the refurnishing and maintenance of the White House and its grounds. And this is what the White House Historical Society says. But it does not include provisions for anything other than repairs and other kind of work. The U.S. Congress gives every new president an allowance of $100,000 to refurbish the private residence and the Oval Office. Now, if Trump gets the support from Congress, he would also have to get approval from the National Park Service. And if Trump had the support of former presidents like Biden, Clinton, and Obama, it could work. But will they support Trump in this? Well, it does not look likely. Well, election rhetoric has reached fever pitch in India's national capital one day before the pivotal results for assembly polls are declared. The ruling Aam Aadmi Party and opposition BJP in Delhi are at loggerheads once again. Former Delhi Chief Minister and Aam Aadmi Party Chief Arvind Kejriwal has accused the Bharatiya Janata Party of trying to poach his party contestants. Kejriwal's allegations comes ahead of counting of votes on Saturday. Hitting back, the BJP threatened to take legal action if AAP does not drop the allegations. Kejriwal has alleged that 16 AAP contestants received calls on Thursday with an offer of rupees 15 crore from BJP for changing sides. In an online post, Kejriwal also said that despite some exit polls predicting BJP winning more than 55 seats, he wondered why they had to poach the rival contestants. AAP's contestant Mukesh Alawat also echoed the party chief's claims and said that he too received an offer to change sides.
I got a call at 9 minutes past 12 yesterday and he said that he's acquainted with Parvesh Verma. He wanted me to speak with Parvesh Verma and meet him. I asked him what I would do by meeting him. The man said it was for my own benefit. He then said I would be made a minister and if possible I would also be paid. He then said he would pay me up to 15 crore rupees.
Rejecting the allegation, BJP Delhi Chief Virendra Sachdeva said that the AAP claims are a result of their frustration as they stare at a defeat. Delhi Lieutenant Governor ordered a probe by the anti-corruption branch into AAP's allegations of attempts by BJP to poach its contestants. The ACB team will be questioning AAP leaders Mukesh Alawat, Sanjay Singh and Arvind Kejriwal. Earlier in the evening, the Anti-Corruption Bureau sent an official inquiry to the Aam Aadmi Party convener asking for details on the allegations made. The investigating officials have asked Kejriwal to furnish details of the 16 AAP leaders who received phone calls from BJP along with details of their names and phone numbers of individuals who made the alleged horse trading calls. Well, Delhi voted on the 5th of February to choose its next government. The votes will be counted on Saturday. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has cleared his country will not be bullied. His statement comes days after US President Donald Trump threatened to cut funding to South Africa over a Land Reform Act. Trump claimed on Sunday, without providing any evidence, that South Africa is confiscating land and treating certain classes of people very badly, referring to the act aimed at addressing racial disparities in land ownership. Ramaphosa did not refer to Trump directly, but he spoke about the rising global tensions in his annual State of the National Address.
Witnessing the rise of nationalism, protectionism, the pursuit of narrow interests, and the decline of common cause. This is the world that we, as South Africa, a developing economy, must now navigate. But we are not daunted to navigate our path through this world that constantly changes. We will not be deterred. We are, as South Africans, a resilient people, and we will not be bullied.
Well, that part of the speech was met with applause and cheers by members of parliament and others attending the event. South African President Ramaphosa last month signed a bill that stipulates that the government may, in certain circumstances, offer nil compensation for property it decides to expropriate in the public interest. Trump alleged that South Africa's leadership was hurting people's rights and carrying out atrocities.
Terrible things are happening in South Africa. The leadership is doing some terrible things, horrible things. So that's under investigation right now. We'll make a determination. And until such time as we find out what South Africa is doing, they're taking away land, they're confiscating land, and actually they're doing things that are perhaps far worse than that.
Well, land ownership is a contentious issue in South Africa, with most farmland still owned by white people, and that's more than 3 decades after the end of apartheid. Efforts to redress the inequality has attracted criticism from conservatives. Moving on, US is witnessing a rise in aviation disasters. At least 6 air tragedies have been reported in the past 10 days and 2 in the last 24 hours only. While air travel is still considered safe, these back-to-back incidents have reignited concerns about aviation risks and has also induced anxiety among many air travelers. In Alaska, a plane carrying 10 people disappeared mid-flight during a dangerous winter storm. 9 passengers and a pilot were on board the flight. The aircraft, operated by Bering Air, was en route from Unalaklit to Nome, which are cities in western Alaska. The plane has gone missing near Russian border over Alaska. The incident has prompted a massive search operation in the Alaskan waters for those missing. In yet another incident, a US Marine and 3 defense contractors lost their lives in a military plane crash in Philippines. According to the US Indo-Pacific Command, the US contracted aircraft went down in the Maguindanao del Sur province in Philippines. However, the cause of the crash remains under investigation. Well, these are the images of the deadly air accidents reported recently. On January 29th, 67 people lost their lives during a mid-air collision between an American Airlines plane and a US Army Black Hawk helicopter outside Washington, D.C. Then, 2 days later, a medical transport jet carrying a child patient, her mother, and 4 others crashed into a Philadelphia neighborhood, erupting into flames. On the 2nd of February, passengers had to be evacuated from a jetliner at Houston's main airport after an engine problem during takeoff. Now, US Airlines had gone 16 years without a fatal crash until 29th of January. But as impressive as that safety record had been, there have been warning signs in recent years of a major risk of a collision like the one that killed 67 people. On the 5th of February, the right wing of Japan Airlines flight struck the tail of Delta Airlines flight while the planes were taxiing at Seattle Airport. Several flights had to be paused as the aircraft were parked in an area not under air traffic control. Well, on the same day, a Cessna flight reported an engine issue and landed in a field in Georgia. On the 2nd of February, Delta Airlines flight managed to land safely after returning to Minneapolis after the crew reported a possible flap issue. And a day prior to this incident, United Airlines Flight 27 landed safely at Chicago Airport after the crew alerted the authorities about smoke in the cabin. US President Donald Trump has vowed to improve air traffic control system after the DC crash. He says he will work with Congress to revamp the nation's aging aviation safety, which is being used by the air traffic controllers. Democratic Republic of Congo's president will take part in a joint summit of Eastern and Southern African leaders starting today. And this is to discuss the conflict in its east. That's where Rwandan-backed rebels are seizing more territory. The high-stakes summit could bring together DRC President Tshisekedi and President Paul Kagame of Rwanda, who is accused by Congo, the United Nations and other Western countries of arming and supporting the rebels. Rwanda has consistently denied all these allegations. Meanwhile, the UN Human Rights Chief said that the violence engulfing eastern DR Congo is at a high risk of spreading regionally, warning that the worst may be yet to come. And this comes as a Swiss NGO said that 3 local staff were killed during a humanitarian mission in the country's war-torn east, adding that it had halted all its operations in the area. Well, earlier today, the Rwanda-backed M23 rebels captured the eastern Congo city of Goma last week. And they have now said that they are open to dialogue, but it does not want hypocrisy in dialogue.
We have always called for dialogue, for a political solution, but we have been refused. And when we are killed, when we are attacked, when the environment is destroyed, we defend ourselves.
In Goma, the M23 has installed its own mayor, governor and other officials. The group convened tens of thousands of people for its first public meeting since seizing the town. The head of the alliance, Colonel Nanga, told the crowd that the group wants to liberate all of the Congo. Nanga called for a minute of silence for the victims of the fighting before saying that the armed group would drive out Congolese president. He added that they will set up a national police force and a justice system. The DRC has issued an international arrest warrant for Nanga. It will also put forth a motion to the United Nations Human Rights Council seeking an investigation into what it called mass violations of rights in Goma. But after capturing Goma last week, the M23 rebels are now advancing through eastern DR Congo. They have launched a new offensive in a neighboring province, breaking a ceasefire it had declared unilaterally. They have seized the town of Bibwe, which is about 100 kilometers from the regional capital, Bukavu. Humanitarian and local sources have said that Congolese forces were bracing for an assault in the town of Kavumu, that's about 30 kilometers away from Bukavu, and the fall of Kuvamu would be another stinging setback for the army and the government of the DRC. Our next story is about a new research that could change how doctors detect serious diseases. A new study has revealed that our eyes may hold crucial clues about conditions like type 2 diabetes and dementia. According to reports, Researchers from the Walter and Eliza Hall Institute in Australia used AI, artificial intelligence, to analyze more than 50,000 retinal images, reportedly giving highly detailed maps that reveal a new kind of connection between retinal structure and various diseases. Now, the retina is not just a part of the eye, it is an extension of the central nervous system, which includes the brain and spinal cord. According to researchers, any disruption in this system can signal serious health conditions, adding that disorders such as dementia and metabolic diseases like diabetes often affect the nervous system. In the research, they found that changes in the retina's thickness may provide early warning signs of these diseases. One of the lead researchers of the study said that routine eye exams might one day provide major insights into brain health, allowing for earlier diagnoses and better disease management. The researchers further emphasized that the retinal imaging could serve as a gateway to understanding brain and nerve-related diseases. This discovery, they said, could open the door for non-invasive screenings that detect these diseases in their earliest stages. The study also uncovered new genetic factors that shape the thickness, reportedly offering new insights into how the retina grows. Researchers believe that these components could influence how certain diseases progress. According to the team, retinal thickness could become a powerful diagnostic tool. They pointed out that their maps allow them to pinpoint specific areas of the retina where disease-related changes occur, which could help doctors track diseases' progression more accurately. Researchers compared AI-generated eye imaging data with the health records, and the result: a massive data set of 50,000 retinal maps revealing thinning patterns linked to nearly 300 genes that play a major role in diseases. Now, this research suggests that something as simple as an eye exam could one day provide a window into a person's overall health, and that could help in diagnosing and monitoring serious conditions, and that too long before symptoms appear. Now, with bird flu striking chickens in the United States of America, one can't help but wonder, is it safe to eat eggs anymore? First, let's tell you about the current situation of the bird flu in the US. The H5N1 flu, or the H5 bird flu, is widespread in wild birds worldwide and is causing outbreaks in US dairy cows, with several recent human cases in US dairy workers there. As of 6th January 2025, there have been 66 confirmed human cases of H5N1 bird flu in the US since 2024. And most of them contracted the virus through contact with sick animals. And in a bid to combat the virus, more than 150 million birds have been killed. And that is because once bird flu is detected in poultry, the only way to stop the virus from spreading further is to depopulate or cull the entire flock. And this has led to an increase in the price of eggs. Experts say that they are likely to climb further as the bird flu outbreak decimates flocks across the US. Meanwhile, health experts also say that the risk of bird flu is low, and it is unlikely that eggs in the stores are contaminated with bird flu. A 2010 risk assessment conducted by the US Food Safety and Inspection Services concluded that the risk of infection to humans from viruses like H5N1 through the consumption of contaminated shell eggs is low. And even if bird flu manages to make its way into an egg, the normal cooking procedure would kill that. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention recommended cooking eggs to an internal temperature of 165 degrees Celsius, which means that the yolk should be firm. So the only risk is if you're eating raw or undercooked eggs. However, the scenario may change if the virus continues to circulate and potentially mutate. And if you want to be extra cautious, then pasteurized eggs like liquid egg whites that come in cartons are considered safe since pasteurization inactivates the virus. Well, the bottom line is this. If you are using good food handling practices and fully cooking the eggs as recommended, then the risk is extremely low. Whales don't just sing, they may be speaking like us. Well, scientists studying humpback whale songs have found complex patterns that resemble human language structures. Are these ocean giants truly communicating in a way we never imagined? Our next story, taking a closer look at whales, the gentle giants of our planet.
The ocean's depths hold secrets whispered in complex songs. Humpback whales, colossal creatures traversing the world's oceans, have long fascinated us with their mysterious grunts and moans. These majestic mammals, some reaching over 100 feet in length and weighing as much as 33 elephants, share more with us than just warm blood and the need to breathe air. A new study published in Science reveals striking parallels between human language and whale songs, challenging long-held assumptions about animal communication. 8 years of humpback whale recordings expose a complex linguistic pattern that suggests these marine mammals possess sophisticated cultural learning abilities, previously thought unique to humans. Like human languages, these vocalizations aren't mere instinctive sounds, but culturally transmitted knowledge, passed down through generations of male humpbacks. This discovery transforms our understanding of animal intelligence and raises profound questions about consciousness and culture in non-human species. The whale songs are so compelling that they were included on the Voyager spacecraft as representatives of Earth's voices as it travels in interstellar space more than 24 billion kilometers away from Earth, back on our planet. In light of the new study, the question arises, are these songs more than just mating calls? The mysteries of whale communication deepen, challenging us to rethink our understanding of intelligence in the natural world.
Chocolate is getting more expensive, and it's not just consumers feeling the pinch. Hershey and Mondelez are bracing for major profit hits this year, and that's as cocoa prices skyrocket. Hershey now forecasts earnings per share well below the expectations. Mondelez, the maker of Cadbury and Oreo, it is warning of a 10% drop in annual profit, which is far worse than Wall Street's prediction. The profit margin has fallen to 31.5%. Mondelez shares fell nearly 6% after the announcement, while Hershey's stock rose in pre-market trading following stronger than expected results. Well, a chocolate bar today is more expensive than it was last year, and there's a simple reason. There's not enough cocoa. West African cocoa manufacturing is shrinking for the 4th year in a row. Adding to the problem, Harmattan winds are at their worst in 6 years, drying out cocoa trees and damaging crops. While the Global Cocoa Organization warns that global cocoa stockpiles are down 36% year-on-year. For companies like Hershey and Mondelez, that means higher costs, tighter supply chains, and tough decisions on passing those costs to consumers. However, there's a twist in the cocoa story. Prices have just dropped to a 1-month low. Mondelez signaled that chocolate demand might be slowing, especially in North America, where consumers are seeking cheaper options. At the same time, rain in Ghana and the Ivory Coast are improving tree growth, raising hope for better harvests. But supply concerns persist. ICE-monitored cocoa inventories in U.S. ports have fallen to a 21-year low. With cocoa shortages persisting and demand trends shifting, the industry faces an uncertain 2025. Well, now let's shift our focus to the world of fashion. The New York Fashion Week has finally kicked off, and here's everything you need to know about Carolina Strada's Defiant runway show. Take a look. And with that, we call it a wrap. Thanks very much for staying with us. You are watching WION The World. Stay tuned.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays 9 PM IST, 3:30 PM GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
This week on Check It Out, we show you a car fueled by sewage. Find out what OpenAI deep research is. And we give you a sneak peek into the internet dress. This and more on WION World is One at these times.
This week on Inside South Asia, Bangladesh protesters destroy and vandalize the house of Sheikh Hasina's father, the founder of Bangladesh, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. It's been a year since Pakistan's general election. Political stability remains a far cry, while a plethora of issues cry out. And a roaring story from India, a look at the country's tiger conservation that has received a global benchmark. All this and much more on Inside South Asia.
You should start worrying about what effects the war in the DRC could have on your phone. Over the past year, the M23 has made rapid advances across the mineral-rich east of DR Congo, taking areas where coltan, the ore from which tantalum is extracted, is mined. Cotton is Benin's white gold, and now the West African nation is vying to become the continent's largest cotton producer. And henna artistry has been reorganized by UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage for 16 Arab countries, including Morocco. Watch World of Africa at these times on WION World is One.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the US.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.